I married into the East Sea together with my stepsister. In my previous life, my father was biased and schemed to switch our bridal sedans, helping my sister marry the Dragon King's prince, while I had to replace her and marry an ordinary carp spirit. But after marriage, my sister couldn't conceive for a long time, and the prince had no choice but to take concubines. Meanwhile, the little carp I gave birth to, by a twist of fate, leaped over the dragon gate, became a true dragon, and even inherited the Dragon King's throne. After much difficulty, my sister gave birth to only a few weak loaches, which the Dragon King saw as a great humiliation. He forced the crown prince to divorce her, and she was driven back home, becoming a laughingstock throughout the 3 realms, driven mad with jealousy. My sister poisoned our father to death and then drew her sword to kill me when I came to handle his funeral arrangements. When I opened my eyes again, we had returned to the day the envoy from the East Sea came to propose marriage. Hello, everyone, welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful stories every day. Now the story begins. My sister was the first to choose the carp spirit, thinking that in this life she would give birth to a little carp that could leap over the dragon gate. But what she didn't know was that conceiving a dragon heir was difficult, and for a carp to leap over the dragon gate was even more challenging. Moreover, the carp spirit was selfish, cruel by nature, and fond of eating human flesh raw. In our previous life, my father favored my half-sister Yangran and tampered with our wedding sedans. Yangran married the Dragon King's son with the generous dowry my mother had given me, while I ended up marrying an ordinary carp spirit with only 2 chests of worthless junk. Yet, decades after the marriage, my sister still failed to bear an heir for the Dragon King's son. Ao Xian, under pressure. Ao Xian had no choice but to take concubines. I married the carp spirit Yu Jing and became pregnant within 2 months, giving birth to a beautiful little koi that was adored by the entire carp clan. My little koi was well behaved and sensible from a young age, and remarkably, it leaped over the dragon gate to transform into a true dragon, becoming the first of the next generation in the East Sea to achieve this, earning the right to inherit the Dragon King's throne. Yangran exhausted all her efforts to finally become pregnant, but her beautiful dream was soon shattered. Just as Ao Xian's concubine was also with child, Yangran struggled to give birth to a few weak loaches, which the Dragon King saw as a great humiliation, forcing Ao Xian to divorce her. Yanran's birth of the little loaches made her the laughingstock of the 3 realms. On her way back home, she was even humiliated by bandits. Upon returning, her mother, resentful that she and her father had conspired to swap the carefully arranged marriage intended for me, confined Yangran to a bleak and austere temple. Yangran was jealous that I, as the mother of the heir, had become the most noble dragon queen of the East Sea. She resented my mother for reprimanding her and sending people to humiliate her, and she sought revenge against my mother, but with so many skilled guards around my mother, she had no chance to harm her. Instead, she poisoned my father when he came to visit her, and at his funeral, she killed me, who had come to handle the aftermath. A sharp pain shot through my body. Her strike was truly vicious. The agony made my very soul tremble, and soon I was plunged into darkness. But when I awoke from the darkness again, I found Yangran holding my arm, her face wearing a sweet and innocent smile. In my previous life, when Yangran killed me, she wore the same sweet smile on her face. Seeing her smile, I couldn't help but feel a chill, quickly pretending to take a sip of tea to break free from her grasp. Is this the underworld? Suppressing my doubts, I looked around and realized I was actually at home. My mother was watching us with a gentle expression, while the envoy from the Eastern Sea was sitting opposite us, sipping tea. Looking at the familiar furnishings, I finally understood I had been reborn, returned to the day the envoy from the Eastern Sea came to propose marriage. I glanced subtly at Yangran, only to find a hint of something in her eyes that I couldn't quite decipher, a look of determination. As soon the envoy from the East Sea finished explaining his purpose, my younger sister couldn't wait to speak up. Father, mother, since elder sister is the legitimate daughter, she should marry the crown prince. As for me, being the secondary daughter, I shall marry Lord Yu Jing. Hearing Yanran's words, I was somewhat surprised. After all, Yangran had grown up under mother's care since childhood. Whatever I had, mother would prepare a copy for Yangran as well. Although she claimed to be a secondary daughter, she was practically no different from a legitimate daughter. That's why in my previous life, after the envoy from the East Sea stated his purpose, Yangran couldn't wait to declare that she wanted to marry Ao Xian, the dragon prince. But Ao Xian was the person my mother had carefully chosen for me, the one she had exhausted all her efforts and decades of dedication to secure for me. No matter how well mother treated Yangran, Yangran was, after all, not her own daughter. She was even the illegitimate child born of father's mistress. After mother found out, the mistress took her own life in the hope that Yangran would receive mother's forgiveness. Mother, in her generosity, honored the mistress's love for her child and took Yangran in to raise her. This act of raising her lasted for decades. It raised Yangran, but it also raised her ambitions. In her previous life, when Yangnan said she wanted to marry Ao Xian, the envoy from the East Sea was a perceptive man. Seeing my mother's displeased expression, he stated that Ao Xian's consort could only be a legitimate daughter. Yangnan refused to back down and even suggested that mother register her under her name. Mother rejected her on the spot and refused to provide even a single dowry in this life. Seeing Yangnan so sensible, mother's expression softened even more. My marriage with Yangnan was thus settled. Noticing father sneakily pulling Yangnan toward the garden, I quietly followed them. I then overheard father anxiously saying to Yangnan, "That carp spirit is just an ordinary carp spirit. What good will marrying him do you? It will only waste your life for nothing." Hearing this, I couldn't help but sneer. So my father also knew that Yu Jing was just an ordinary carp spirit. Yet he still chose to have me marry him. But what father didn't know was that even though Yu Jing was an ordinary carp spirit, if he were to seek a wife in the mortal world, countless daughters of high officials would flock to him. If not for my mother's sake, Yu Jing wouldn't have proposed to Yangran. Yangran said firmly to father, "Father, Ao Xian cannot bear children, why not let my sister marry him instead?" Although Yu Jing is a carp spirit, the little koi we would give birth to could leap over the dragon gate and become a true dragon. Hearing Yanran's words, a storm of shock surged within me. Yangran had also been reborn. She thought that by marrying Yu Jing, she could give birth to a little koi that would leap over the dragon gate and transform into a true dragon. But what she didn't know was that conceiving a dragon's child is difficult, and a koi leaping over the dragon gate is even harder than reaching the heavens. Yu Jing is selfish, cruel, and has a taste for human flesh. In this lifetime, let her bear the painful experience of having her heart's blood drawn and her flesh cut to feed the fish in my place. I didn't disturb them and quietly slipped away. I entered my mother's room, where she was carefully checking my dowry list. A long scroll in her hands. The moment she saw me, a tender smile spread across her face. Seeing my mother so full of energy, my eyes couldn't help but well up with tears. In my past life, to ensure I could settle down safely among the carp clan, my mother went out of her way to provide me with everything I needed. She exhausted all her efforts and energy to support the entire carp clan. When I rushed home to handle my father's funeral affairs, I found that mother had aged significantly. The only thing unchanged was the kindness in her eyes. This time, everything is still within reach. With my marriage arrangements properly settled, mother is now in a relaxed and joyful state of mind, nestled in my mother's embrace. I watched as she tucked one precious treasure after another into my dowry, and my cold, hardened heart softened. My mother wiped away tears as she spoke, reminiscing about my childhood, just as we were chatting happily. Yangran burst in with a smug expression, but her face immediately turned cold upon seeing the jewelry my mother had prepared for me. She snorted coldly, "Mother is so good to elder sister. I suppose this is the difference between a biological daughter and an adopted one, in this life." Because Yangran knew her place, the dowry mother gave her wasn't as shabby as in the previous life. Mother even took some from her own savings to give to her, but that was all she would offer. Yangran pushed me aside and snuggled up to mother. Caught off guard, I stumbled from her shove. Seeing this, mother's face turned cold, but Yangran, looking quite pleased with herself, didn't notice mother's displeased expression. Instead, she continued to act coquettishly, pleading for gifts. Mother's expression grew even colder. She cut off Yanran's incessant chatter and said, "Your dowry, like Suiran's, will be provided from the family funds, although you are a daughter of a concubine. Your share is the same as your elder sister's. What more could you possibly want?" Seeing Yangran hesitantly hint at those lavish dowries, mother's face turned even frostier. She said coldly, "Then go ask your own mother for it." Yanran's smug expression instantly froze on her face. She snorted and walked away without even a bow. Mother watched her frivolous manner, let out a light scoff, and remarked that she had truly grown too ambitious. I watched from the side, feeling secretly relieved that mother could see her true nature. As I left mother's courtyard, Yangran was waiting at the gate. She immediately approached me as soon as she saw me. She couldn't hide the pride on her face and said to me with a hint of caution, "Sister, congratulations on becoming the crown princess of the Four Seas. Mother is so good to you. If only I were her biological daughter, how wonderful that would be." I noticed that her words were all about playing the victim to get something from me, and it suddenly dawned on me that this was how she had always gotten what she wanted from me in the past. Having grown up together under mother's care, I never thought too much about it and would just give her whatever she liked. I didn't say much, just nodded faintly. Seeing that I remained unmoved, Yangran pouted arrogantly and ran off in a huff, before she was out of earshot. I heard her mutter that once she gave birth to a koi and became the dragon mother, she would make us pay. Our wedding is drawing nearer, and I worry that Yangran might regret having instigated her father to interfere with our marriage, repeating the mistakes of the past. There's no sense in staying on guard day and night. The best approach is to cut the problem at its root by having Ao Xian present throughout. I brought this up with my mother, and she was pleased at the idea of Ao Xian and me fostering our relationship. So, within a few days, Ao Xian and Yu Jing appeared at our residence. It was then that I saw my husband-to-be from my past life, the one who had been taken from me. Ao Xian. He stood imposingly beside Yu Jing, making her appear all the more petty and narrow-minded. Ao Xian and Yu Jing saw me, their eyes slightly lighting up with a hint of astonishment, but when Yangran noticed Yu Jing's gaze drawn to me, she glared at me fiercely, rushed over, and took Yu Jing's arm. Yu Jing was startled by her bold move, then a flicker of disdain and frivolity passed through his eyes. They stayed in the mansion. Although my mother emphasized propriety, she still allowed me to meet with Ao Xian often to nurture our relationship. Though Ao Xian was from the East Sea, he was also very proper and respectful towards me and my mother, unlike Yu Jing, who had already been freely entering Yanran's private chambers. Just 2 days before our weddings, my mother suddenly fell ill. I was admiring the lotus flowers with Ao Xian when I received the news. Upon hearing it, I nearly lost my balance and fell into the water. But fortunately, Ao Xian quickly reached out and caught me. Ao Xian and I hurried to my mother's courtyard, where she lay on the bed with her eyes tightly shut, her face pale. The physician said my mother's illness had come on suddenly and inexplicably. As I looked at her frail form, tears streamed down my face, while Ao Xian carefully examined her and questioned the servants about her recent meals. Finally, with a pained expression, he told me that my mother had been poisoned. When I learned from Ao Xian what kind of poison it was, my mind went blank with shock. It was the same poison Yangran had used on my father in our past life. Ironically, in that life, my father had given the poison to Yangran, but when she couldn't find an opportunity to use it on my mother, she instead poisoned my father to force my return. In this life, my father still joined forces with Yangran to harm my mother. Thinking of my father, that heartless and ungrateful man, he secretly took a mistress while my mother was pregnant with me. Yangran and I are only about a month or two apart in age. The more I thought about it, the angrier I became. I drew the sword from the guard's hand and stabbed it toward my father, who was hypocritically wiping away tears. Amid Yanran's screams, I swung the sword at her as well. Yangran dodged in a panic, shrieking, "Sister, have you lost your mind? Your Highness, you cannot marry such a madwoman." I didn't say much more, placing the sword against my father's neck and coldly demanding, "Hand over the antidote." My father continued to play dumb, asking me what antidote I was talking about. Watching my father feign deep affection, I felt nothing but disgust. Having been reborn, I hadn't even had the chance to deal with this man, yet he was already rushing to his doom. Yangran also chimed in with feigned concern. "Sister, I know you're anxious because mother is ill, but you can't just pin baseless accusations on father. Everyone knows how deeply father loves mother. A young lady shouldn't be so violent, especially not toward her own father." I sneered. "Yes, he deeply loved my mother, but you, an illegitimate daughter, are only a month or two younger than me. Is this his so-called deep affection, his affection that he gave to another woman?" Hearing that Yangran was an illegitimate daughter, not even considered a concubine-born, Yu Jing's expression changed slightly, and he looked at Yangran with disdain. Seeing that my father refused to admit it no matter what and that I couldn't produce evidence at the moment, Ao Xian took the sword I was holding and said gently, "Although this poison is rare, I happen to have the antidote. Let's give it to Aunt Ju first to detoxify her. We can talk more after she wakes up." Hearing this, my father's face changed. He said angrily, "Your mother is just sick. Why must you listen to the nonsense of the house physician? What if something goes wrong after giving her the medicine?" I ignored him and instructed my mother's maid to feed her the antidote. At night, Ao Xian suddenly appeared in my room. With an apologetic look, he apologized to me, saying the matter was urgent, and then took me to hide in my mother's courtyard. Seeing my confusion, Ao Xian signaled for me to keep quiet. Not long after, my father appeared furtively, followed by a resentful-looking Yangran. Father stood by mother's bedside, sneering at her unconscious form, saying, 18 years ago, you knew full well that Xiaoya wouldn't have competed with you for anything. She only loved me, yet you killed her, all these years. Our daughter with Xiaoya has suffered under your strict control and torment. You deserve to die. Yanran's eyes were also red and teary. They stood by mother's bedside, reminiscing about the pain of the past 18 years. Listening to this, I could only feel speechless. Since I was little, whatever I had, mother would also prepare a share for Yangran. Although Yangran was a daughter from a concubine, she studied music, chess, calligraphy, and painting under renowned teachers since childhood and never suffered mother's harsh treatment. As for father, because he made a mistake when mother was pregnant with me, mother didn't want to hold it against him, but the two of them lived separately. Father is nothing more than a live-in son-in-law to mother. Everything he has, decades of luxury and comfort, were all given by mother. How dare he claim to have been tormented by her? Indeed, these two are nothing but ungrateful wolves. No matter how you raise them, they never become loyal. Father clutched the wound on his abdomen, raised a gleaming dagger, and viciously stabbed it toward mother. Fearing that one stab might not be enough to kill her, he pulled it out and brutally stabbed several more times. But then he realized something was wrong. The one lying on the bed was not my mother, but a substitute doll. Father's face instantly turned pale at that moment. Mother appeared at the door, though she also looked pale. Her spirit seemed quite well. Ao Xian whispered to me, I told Aunt Ju to be prepared. I wanted you to see your father's true nature, so I brought you here. Mother glanced toward our corner with a half-smile, then called out cheerfully for us to come out. Seeing us emerge from the corner, father's face turned even paler. These past few days have truly been eventful. Father poisoned mother and even attempted to assassinate her. Mother sat calmly in the study, while Yangnan and father were pinned to the ground. Mother asked him with disappointment, Zhao Yun, ever since you came to the Ju residence, I've treated you well. It was bad enough that you cheated on me while I was pregnant with Suiran, and even fathered an illegitimate daughter, but I endured it. I even used the Ju family's resources to raise her properly. How could you try to kill me? Father's face was contorted with rage, as he frantically twisted his body and roared, if it weren't for you, Xiaoya wouldn't have died. Xiaoya never competed with you for anything. Why couldn't you tolerate her? And Yangran is also my daughter. Why should she only be allowed to marry some ordinary carp spirit? Mother replied, was it really me who forced your mistress to her death? It was you, unwilling to give up the wealth and status of the Ju family, who coaxed her into taking her own life. As for Yangran, her surname is Zhao, not Ju. She is your daughter, but not mine, and certainly not a daughter of the Ju family. Hearing mother's words, I just wanted to applaud her, and Ao Xian, simple-minded as he is, paid no mind to father and Yanran's alternating pale and flushed faces, and started clapping. While clapping, he exclaimed, as expected of Aunt Ju. At this moment, Yangran suddenly cried out, Mother, all of this was father's deception. I knew nothing about it. I'm sorry, mother. Upon hearing Yanran's words, father was first shocked, then looked at her with disappointment, but soon, he lowered his head and said in a muffled voice, Yes, Yangran knew nothing. It was all my idea. Mother, concerned for my reputation and my upcoming marriage, had father locked up and posted guards to watch him. All of Yanran's dowry was taken back by her mother. In this life, she couldn't even get 2 trunks of dowry. Her father still cared for her and wanted to give her his private assets. But her mother intercepted them. Originally, her mother intended to break off the engagement between Yangran and Yujing. Although Yangran was an illegitimate daughter, her mother had raised her for so many years and had gone to great lengths to find her a decent marriage. But Yangran and her father colluded in wrongdoing. Although her mother didn't mind, her heart was still hurt. I thought of letting Yangran experience what I went through in my past life. So I begged my mother to fulfill Yanran's wish, as a way of honoring our years of mother-daughter bond. My mother was unwilling, but seeing my insistence, she eventually agreed. Yangran had been very attentive these days, bringing nourishing soup to my mother every day, but my mother's heart was wounded, and she refused to see her even once. To us, Yanran's gesture was like a weasel paying respects to a chicken, full of ulterior motives. But in Yujing's eyes, Yangran appeared respectful and gentle toward her demanding stepmother. Compared to my seemingly harsh and vulgar behavior, Yangran stood out like a pristine white lotus blooming gracefully in the mud. Yujing couldn't help but feel a sense of pity for Yangran. During their time at the Ju residence, Yujing treated Yangran very well, almost always accommodating her every wish. He even took her out for excursions and sought various treasures to serve as her dowry. Listening to the maid recount the progress of their relationship, I felt very satisfied. It was all worth the act I had been putting on during this time. My harsh and despicable behavior was naturally an act. The force with which I whipped the servants was very light, almost like tickling. Soon, Yangran and I were to be married. My wedding dress had been prepared by my mother long ago, embroidered with golden threads and a phoenix so lifelike it seemed about to take flight. The jewels on the phoenix crown were priceless, each one worth a city. Yangran, however, was a bit shabby. Even with Yu Jing's preparations, her wedding dress was somewhat old, and the embroidery on it was frayed and tangled. My mother accompanied me, her eyes moist as she held back tears while speaking with me. This scene was exactly the same as in my past life, but unlike before. This time I would absolutely not let my father scheme to switch our bridal sedans and marry me off to Yu Jing without a clear understanding. Dressed to the nines, I looked radiant and captivating. Yu Jing's gaze was fixed tightly on me, his sticky stare like a cold snake slithering inch by inch across my skin, chilling it so much that goosebumps rose one after another. Ao Xian sensed Yu Jing's unrestrained gaze and subtly shielded me behind him, personally helping me into the bridal sedan. Seeing the unfriendly look in Ao Xian's eyes, Yu Jing gave an awkward smile and pulled Yangran into his embrace. This move by Yu Jing filled Yangran with secret delight. She thought it was her charm that made him disregard propriety with such an act, but she didn't know that Yu Jing was inherently dissolute, and etiquette was nothing but a joke among the carp tribe. Yu Jing's action instantly darkened his mother's face, and the surrounding people began to whisper among themselves. I patted my mother's hand, and she forced a smile, raising her voice to say, "Zhao Yangran is not the daughter of a concubine I arranged for Zhao Yun. She is merely the daughter born to Zhao Yun's mistress. 18 years ago, her mother, gravely ill, begged me to take care of her daughter. Out of pity for a mother's love, I agreed. I have raised her for 18 years and have done all I should for her, for Zhao Yun, and for her mother. From now on, she is only Zhao Yun's daughter. Not a daughter of the Zhu family." Mother's words made Yu Jing instantly realize that she did not care about Yangran, the daughter of a mistress, and had even expelled her from the Zhu family. His intention to marry Yangran was merely to climb the social ladder by attaching himself to the Zhu family's influence. But mother's move had thwarted his scheme. Under the red bridal veil, Yangran could not see Yu Jing's livid expression, and I could not see Yanran's face either. But I imagined it must have been quite a sight. Mother helped me into the bridal sedan chair, unable to hold back her tears any longer as they streamed down her face. Seeing my mother's tears, I felt deeply upset. Ao Xian noticed and comforted me, saying, "Once we settle down, we'll bring mother to stay with us. I won't let you and your mother suffer the pain of longing for each other." The Carp clan lived close to the Dragon clan. After Yangran stepped out of the sedan chair, her face looked pale from the long journey, and her hair was slightly disheveled. Yu Jing, disgusted by her embarrassing appearance, greeted Ao Xian and then left without a backward glance. Abandoning her, Yangran was left alone, struggling to lift her cumbersome skirt as she awkwardly trailed behind, and I arrived at the Dragon clan, where the members crowded together to welcome me. I had already adjusted my state of mind before reaching the Dragon clan. Ao Xian thoughtfully prepared food for me so I wouldn't go hungry. When I arrived at the Dragon clan, they marveled at my beauty. Some bold clansmen even shouted to Ao Xian, "The crown prince has married such a beautiful crown princess, what a steal for you. You should reward us with a few bottles of wedding wine so we can share in the joy." I curled the corner of my lips and whispered a few words to my maid, who then went to Ao Xian's side and murmured something to him. Ao Xian broke into a bright smile and announced loudly, "Your crown princess says she'll treat you to the home wine from her dowry. Since she's offering you drinks, don't come bothering me anymore. From the moment I was born, my mother dreamed of marrying me to the finest man in the world. She buried several vineyards worth of daughter's red wine, more than enough to treat the Dragon clan." Thinking of my mother, my nose tingled with emotion. At Ao Xian's words, the clan erupted in cheers, crowding around me as I was led toward the Dragon Palace. This was a treatment I never enjoyed in my past life. Back then, I was carried to the Carp clan. Yu Jing, mistaking me for Yangran, did not come to welcome me. I was carried into the Carp clan under their cold stares, and it wasn't until the next day that I learned I had married Yu Jing of the Carp clan, not the Dragon Prince Ao Xian. I wanted to make a scene, but my body had already been given to Yu Jing, who threatened me that if I made a fuss, it would only bring shame to my mother. And since my mother saw that I didn't make a scene, and with my father stirring things up on the side, saying it was my idea, My mother was very disappointed in me and treated me quite coldly. By the time her anger subsided, I had already suffered a great deal of torment. Thinking of Yangran from the Carp clan and her experiences, I felt quite happy inside. We arrived at the Dragon Palace, where the Dragon King had been waiting for us for a long time. As soon as he saw me, his face was full of smiles. Even the Dragon Queen gently took my hand and said, "Sister Jew's daughter is so beautiful, you can tell at a glance that she's Sister Jew's daughter." From the words of the Dragon King and Queen, I learned about a completely new mother, a different kind of mother. They all liked my mother very much, and by extension, they were also very fond and satisfied with me. The Dragon King and Queen even patted my shoulder and said, "Swayran, we are not like human in-laws who think about grandchildren as soon as a daughter-in-law enters the family. Dragon pregnancies are inherently difficult. We had a hard time giving birth to Ao Shen ourselves, so there's no need for you to rush." Looking at their kind smiles, I felt reassured, but soon a few doubts arose in my heart. What did Yangran do in her previous life that made the Dragon King and Queen despise her so much? Everyone knows that dragon offspring are hard to conceive, so she wasn't rejected because she couldn't bear children or gave birth to loaches. What exactly happened then? After having dinner with the Dragon King and Queen, Ao Shen and I returned to his palace. Ao Shen's palace was meticulously decorated, with red paper cuttings on the windows and red silk flowers hung everywhere, resembling a human wedding chamber. As we stepped into the bridal chamber, the maids hurriedly lit the dragon and phoenix wedding candles, and the bed was covered with peanuts and longans. Seeing this scene, my eyes reddened as I looked at Ao Shen in surprise. Ao Shen held up 2 wine cups, his smile surprisingly sincere. "I've heard that human weddings are the most beautiful. You are my wife, and you deserve all of this." He gently wiped away my tears, and we drank the ceremonial wine together. Under the candlelight, Ao Shen's expression softened, stirring a flutter in my heart. The pains of my past life gradually faded under Ao Shen's bright smile. He took my hand and said gently, "There's a saying in the mortal world, 2 hearts that pledge themselves can grow old together. We are both cultivators, able to live as long as the heavens. We will be together forever." Seeing the deep affection in Ao Shen's eyes, the fear in my heart instantly vanished. Ao Shen was very gentle and considerate. I never knew that intimacy between a man and a woman could be so joyful. One day, Ao Shen mysteriously took me to a place. We entered a room and saw a woman of plain appearance standing inside, guarding something covered with a black cloth. As soon as the woman saw us, she respectfully bowed and greeted us. "Your Highness the Crown Prince, Your Highness the Crown Princess." I was a bit puzzled as Ao Shen pulled away the black cloth, revealing an ancient, simple mirror. Ao Shen said, "This is the primordial mirror spirit. I know you wanted to see Zhao Yanran's drama, so I had the mirror spirit keep an eye on her." Hearing Ao Shen's words, I was overjoyed and couldn't help but give him a hug. Ao Shen's ears turned red. He was about to say something, but my attention was quickly drawn to the scene unfolding in the primordial mirror. Looking at Yanran's disheveled reflection in the mirror, I felt a great sense of satisfaction. I knew Yangran would have a hard time among the Carp clan, but I never expected it to be this bad. Yangran was tormented by the Carp clan every day, but out of consideration for her being Yu Jing's wife, they didn't go too far. However, Yangran soon became pregnant, and her life became much easier after that. Yu Jing, concerned about the child in her womb, treated her a little better, but no one knew where Yu Jing learned of an ancient method. Claiming that the mother's heart's blood could help the child in her womb easily leap over the dragon gate, he deceived Yangran into cutting out her heart's flesh and blood every day, then boiled it into a soup and tricked her into drinking it. Yangran, who cut out her heart's flesh and shed her heart's blood every day, suffered a great physical blow, becoming weak and sickly day by day. Seeing her haggard appearance, Yu Jing felt disgusted. He went out to seek pleasure elsewhere. Leaving Yangran alone to guard the empty room, Yangran frantically searched for him, only to be scolded for lacking propriety and for running around carelessly without considering the child. After the child in Yanran's womb was born, Yu Jing also realized that she was completely rejected by the Zhu family. Her father held no status in the Zhu household, and she could get no help from Yangran. Thus, Yanran's situation became even more miserable. She was utterly abandoned by Yu Jing. The Carp tribe had a taste for human flesh, and Yangran, raised with delicate skin and tender flesh, had her meat sliced off daily by Yu Jing in exchange for resources. They particularly favored the meat from the inner thighs, as it was the most tender. Meanwhile, Yangran continued to cut out the flesh and blood from her heart every day to feed the little carp, all in the hope that it would one day leap over the dragon gate. Watching Yanran's experience, I laughed so hard that tears were about to fall. In my previous life, I suffered the same hardships. Yu Jing, taking advantage of the Zhu family being far away, treated me without restraint, and the pain I endured was even greater than Yanran's. This was because my mother tirelessly sent over nourishing supplements, which helped me recover quickly despite the suffering. After the little carp leaped over the dragon gate, in order to compete for the Dragon King's throne, my mother sent over many treasures to support the little carp's succession. But in this life, Yangran has nothing. How long can she hold on? Watching Yangran draw blood from her heart, I couldn't help but feel a wave of nausea. Ao Xian was very anxious and quickly summoned the dragon physician to take my pulse. Upon hearing the news, the Dragon King and Queen rushed over immediately, watching over me with tense expressions. Seeing them all on high alert, the dragon physician wore a grave expression, occasionally furrowing his brows and sighing, which nearly scared the three of them out of their wits. Only after he had savored their reactions did he leisurely say, "The Crown Princess's condition is serious, it's going to last for a long time." Alas, Ao Xian was so frightened that tears fell, his hand holding mine trembling uncontrollably. He looked as if he were about to shatter. The imperial physician chuckled a few times and finally stopped beating around the bush, saying, "The Crown Princess is pregnant." The Dragon King and Ao Xian were taken aback, but the Dragon Queen had already brushed aside Ao Xian's hand and happily grasped mine, repeatedly saying, "Good, good, good." Then she, too, fell silent, her eyes slightly reddening. The news of my pregnancy quickly spread throughout the Dragon Clan, and it was as if the entire clan was celebrating a festival, with everyone beaming with joy. This is the heir of their Dragon Clan. During this period, the Dragon Clan members have been exceptionally gentle. Those who usually soar through the clouds every day now walk on the ground in an orderly manner. Everyone speaks in softer tones, and when issues arise, they simply laugh them off. The baby in my belly is so restless, it's making it hard for me to sleep or eat. Ao Xian is terribly worried and has lost weight in just a few days. The Dragon King and Queen even went to the Zhu family to bring my mother over. I was very happy to see my mother again, and she was also very happy. As soon as she saw me, she took my hand and said I had lost weight. It's probably every mother's common ailment, always thinking their child has lost weight. I haven't lost weight. In fact, I've gained quite a bit. All thanks to Ao Xian scouring the world to find chefs for me, changing them every day. Even if I couldn't eat much, my nutrition never suffered. Upon hearing my mother say I had lost weight, Ao Xian and the Dragon King couple also nodded in agreement, their faces showing a guilty expression. This night, Mother and I slept together, just like when I was little, nestled close to one another. Mother's embrace was very warm. She held me and rambled on about many things, saying she hadn't divorced my father. If she did, he would become even more unrestrained in his affection for Yangran. My mother detested them deeply and didn't want them to have it easy. My mother's thoughts are the same as mine. Even if I were to live another life, I wouldn't want them to have it easy. In my previous life, my father schemed to switch the bridal sedan. Yangran attempted to poison me and my mother, and then killed me. I will settle these scores with them one by one. After I became pregnant, I never paid attention to Yanran's affairs again. I wanted to accumulate good karma for the child in my womb, but I hadn't paid attention to Yangran, and suddenly she came to the Dragon Clan wanting to visit me. When I heard the news, I was a bit surprised. As it happened, I had nothing to do that day, so I followed the maid to see Yangran. Seeing Yangran haggard and disheveled in the Taigu mirror was one thing, but witnessing it in person was truly shocking. Yangran had become as thin as a bundle of bones, with high, prominent cheekbones and a pale, bloodless face. Seeing me looking radiant and glamorous, a flicker of envy flashed in Yanran's eyes, her gaze fixed intently on my belly, as if she wanted to cut it open and pull out my child. I don't want to indulge her either, so I said coldly, "If you keep looking at me like that, I'll gouge your eyes out." Upon hearing my words, Yannan's tears fell, and she looked at me pitifully. "Sister, why have you suddenly become like this? We used to be such close sisters. I don't want to compete with you for anything. Mother intended for me to marry His Highness the Crown Prince as well, but I didn't want to upset you, so I married Yu Jing instead." Yangran asked me tearfully, "Sister, what have I done?" I raised the corner of my mouth, watching Yanran's performance calmly. Yangran was crying her heart out, and it was truly heartbreaking to see. Listening to Yangran talk about her love at first sight for Ao Xian and her affection for him, if I were just her sister, I would feel heartache for her. Unfortunately, the one she was pouring her heart out to was my husband. I raised an eyebrow, looking at the figure behind the screen, then at the flicker of glee in Yanran's eyes. It seems my sister also knows there's someone behind the screen. She's taking a gamble. I clapped my hands, signaling the maid to remove the screen. Revealing Ao Xian's handsome face, before Yangran could even feel a hint of joy, her delighted expression froze the moment she saw the person behind Ao Xian. It was Yu Jing, his face full of malice. She looked at Yu Jing's predatory gaze, her face as colorful as a palette of slaps. Yangran was dragged back by Yu Jing. Before leaving, she looked to me for help, but my view was blocked by Ao Xian. My mother stayed with me for a long time, knowing I was about to give birth, on the day I went into labor. A heavy rain poured down, the dark, oppressive sky made people anxious, but the Dragon King and his wife, along with the clan members, looked delighted. Ao Xian ignored my mother's objections and insisted on staying by my side during the birth. My mother said the delivery room was filled with impurity, but the usually gentle and proper Ao Xian replied coldly, "Mother, when you gave birth to Suiran, didn't you also wish for the husband you loved to stay by your side?" Upon hearing Ao Xian's words, the Dragon Queen stomped on his foot fiercely. Mother wasn't angry. She looked thoughtfully at Ao Xian several times, making him a bit afraid, but he still stiffened his neck and said, "My wife is bearing children for me. If I were to keep my distance because of impurity, I wouldn't be a real man or a good husband. Besides, there's no such rule among the Dragon Clan." The Dragon King chimed in with a smile. "That's right, Sister Ju, when in Rome, do as the Romans do." Mother smiled and stepped aside to make room. Seeing this, Ao Xian hurried into the delivery room. Looking at my pained expression, he held my hand with a heart full of pity and said, "We're never having children again after this." I glanced at him silently, but the midwife pushed him aside. "Your Highness, please don't block our way. You're just getting in the damn way. Besides, although the crown princess is human, she is also a cultivator. The child she's giving birth to is still a dragon's offspring. Dragon offspring are always considerate and won't torment Her Highness," Ao Xian retorted. "Then why is Suiran in so much pain?" I helplessly tugged at Ao Xian's hand and whispered, "It's not that, I drank too much, and I'm feeling a bit bloated." Soon after, I gave birth to a pair of twins. The moment my daughter was born, the rain stopped, and a ray of sunlight pierced through the layers of dark clouds, dispelling the gloom in the sky. The Dragon King was overjoyed to see two healthy dragon children and immediately wanted to abdicate the throne to Ao Xian. However, Ao Xian stubbornly refused to succeed him. They went back and forth for a long time until the Dragon Queen, unable to stand it any longer, gave each of them a kick and made them take turns being the Dragon King. After I gave birth to the children, my mother returned home. My mother had no choice but to promise them that she would come to stay with the Dragon Clan for a few months every year, which finally made them happy. Time flies quickly, and the two little dragon cubs have already learned to crawl all over the place. They are very mischievous and often crawl outside the Dragon Palace. These two dragon cubs are the bosses of the Dragon Clan. Every day, they climb onto the Dragon King's head, pulling his beard and riding him like a big horse. The ministers are used to it, and if Ao Xian tries to discipline the cubs, they even stop him from doing so. The clan members also spoil the dragon cubs. Even if the cubs burn down their houses, they still clap and praise them for doing a good job. Seeing how they dote on the dragon cubs, Ao Xian and I worry every day. Fortunately, although the cubs are mischievous, they have good temperaments and are not domineering by nature. I rarely go a day without thinking of Yangran. Just as I was about to free my hands to teach Yangran and the Yu Jing clan a lesson, they actually started fighting among themselves. The Carp clan had become so brazen that they were freely entering and leaving Yanran's room. Yu Jing was not at all surprised by this. He even personally offered Yangran to some high-ranking clan members in exchange for a few resources. The little carp ate heart flesh and drank heart blood every day, which made its temper extremely violent. It often beat Yangran, who was daily abused by Yu Jing, tormented by the clan, and bitten by the little carp, leaving not a single part of her body unharmed. She wanted to infiltrate the Dragon Clan and kill me as she did in her previous life, but in this life, without her father's support, she was captured and brought back shortly after leaving the Carp clan. The little carp failed to leap over the dragon gate, shattering Yanran's dream of becoming a dragon mother. After enduring Yu Jing's abuse, she somehow found poison and used it to harm all the carp. Fortunately, a few families who had always lived in peace and avoided conflict were spared, leaving a remnant of the Carp clan. When Ao Xian received the news of Yanran's suicide, he was in the midst of disciplining his two dragon cubs. These two dragon cubs had grown so bold that they ventured into the ancestral dragon graveyard and got lost inside. When we found them, they were sound asleep in front of an ancestor's tomb. with offerings scattered all around, while the ancestors' lingering spirit was gently lulling them to sleep. Upon seeing the Dragon King, the lingering spirit angrily asked if he had been mistreating the two dragon cubs, and even gave the Dragon King a beating. The Dragon King felt extremely embarrassed, abandoned his duties, and left the clan with the Dragon Queen, infuriating Ao Xian to no end. Ao Xian tried to lecture them, but ended up putting them to sleep instead. Seeing the two little ones asleep, Ao Xian picked me up and grinned slyly. "Suiran, let's have another one. I can't take it anymore. I want to start over with a new child. I just can't handle these two anymore."